was okay, and I had good times. I had a good growing up life, but there was nothing exceptional, nothing spectacular. So I'm going through life, and I'm working at the law firm. So Tracy and I would talk at the office a little more than we should, but she would talk about Jesus and God, and it's interesting because all of our attorneys are Jewish. And then there's Tracy, who's the sole Christian in the office, and then me. So we would have discussions, and she would always answer all my questions, like, you know, how did God make the world, and how did all this happen? So one day I finally said, you know, Tracy, I'd like to go. And she's like, great, you know, I'll meet you there. So I'm standing out front, and Rob is out there. And so he introduces himself, and he said, you know, I told him this is my first time going into a church. And I said, you know, I'm really looking for community. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I wasn't even thinking God at that time. Yeah. So I walk in and, you know, sit down with Tracy, and the music starts. I start bawling my eyes out. I'm crying. The whole thing, couldn't contain it. Left crying. And Tracy runs after me, and we talk. But I came back next week, and it happened again. But I knew at that moment, the first time, that something beautiful and joyous came over me. I'd never felt so much compassion and joy just like move through my body. And now I know exactly that it was Jesus filling my heart. And he filled it so much that it overflowed, and I just cried it all out. So I was so excited to be baptized, so excited. That was the rightest thing I've ever done in my life. No doubts, no hesitations, no fear about being in public, nothing. I mean, it was just joy all the way through. My mother was diagnosed with lung cancer, and she was terminal, and she had always wanted me to find Jesus. My dad and my brother somehow, miraculously, was able to get her, and she was able to see me baptized, which was amazing because she really couldn't see. She was miserable. It was horrible for my dad and my brother, but they got her there, and she was sitting there, and she was there when I got baptized, which was more than I could ever have done for her. I have found an amazing community in this church, and I feel so loved and respected. I'm so grateful for that. I can't even say. This is kind of how I see myself. I always thought of myself as Eeyore, always kind of a cloud hanging over my head, and pretty much on my own most of the time. So this is me before I found Jesus. And then after I found Jesus, I feel like I am Tigger, and I am happy and joyous. I have a community around me. I always have Jesus with me, and I feel so, so loved. It's amazing.